Hey everyone, it's Shara from Shara's Fashion. Yes, I'm wearing blue lip color with this eye. I was talking to my friend Jessica earlier, still working on her stuff. You can't see that until the video. Um, you can't see the rest until I smash that video together. Anyway, so oh my gosh, there's some things to talk about, right? Some tea on a few things. First of all, I can't find my daughters nowhere, right? Nowhere. I know what state they're in, but nobody can find them. So, and nobody's seen them for a long time. So, that's kind of concerning because, with the influx of people coming in to that state, there's an increase in crime that's been going on, because, some people that get paid from our taxes and government can give a crap how they hurt America, but that's not why we're here. So anyway, and then there's a rumor going around, and it's a lie. In fact, the last time I ever heard this ridiculous lie, right? Youth Girl 08. That happens to be my daughter. That's my oldest daughter, right? That was the name of her YouTube channel. She may have moved on to TikTok. But I've heard that there's this ridiculous story out there about like the 90s. First of all, she was born in 1995. So in the 90s, she was basically a baby. And she certainly wasn't getting ramen noodle seasonings from Matata's. From the Tatas. Sorry, but I did not produce ramen noodle seasoning from Matata's. So, were we poor a lot? Absolutely. My ex-husband is an alcoholic to this day. That's why you don't see me drinking. He will never grow up. He's in his late 50s. He will never grow up. So that's pathetic and, whatever. Was he violent? Absolutely. He tried to burn my face. But, the last straw with him is when he put his hand, our youngest daughter, shoved her down, cursed her out. And that was the last fucking straw, right? I mean, the man tried to kill me in several different ways, and obviously it didn't work. But karma, bitch. Oh, for a reason, because when he tried to burn my face, don't mind that, I gotta take my epilepsy medicine. Or sometimes I get like these weird little like twitches right here in the cheek. Maybe they should give me the Botox right there too. But, so the rumor going around from Youth Girl, that I'm not going to tell you her real name, is that I made her eat the seasoning packets out of ramen noodles because her brothers would eat the noodles dry. Well, they didn't even know about that phase of ramen noodles until like the century, right? And so it's like my oldest girl, I have 2 boys, 2 girls in that order. Okay, so my oldest girl is 5 years younger than my youngest boy. So my oldest girl And both of my girls are 2 years apart, and my boys are only a year apart. Okay, so I dealt with abuse from their dad for 11 years. And then, like, him putting his hand on our youngest, that, like I said, that was the last straw. Did I make them go without food? No. Never. Never. If anybody went without food, that would be me. I'm the one that went without food. Okay, the lip color is Curse Cosmetics. That's their new metallic lip. I'll leave my code. Anyway, but, you know, it's, I have to blame their church, their, oh God. Now, I'm not saying that all churches are bad, but when churches brainwash kids to hate their parents because the youth ministry is brainwashing these kids to hate their parents because your youth minister is not exactly Christian. Not exactly a Christian person. Especially when he has a record. What kind of record, you might ask? Well, has to do with child molestation and drunk driving. So is that somebody you would want around your kids, brainwashing them? I'll tell you what. I'm not going to say which church because, like, not everybody in that particular religion. Why do you need so many religions for one? I'm just saying, oi. I'm just saying, because you never know. It's true. Why? I don't get it. I don't get it. Original text for the book is in Hebrew. It is not in English. It is not in Roman. It is in Hebrew. So, yeah, so paganism and Judaism are original. So that is true, because I like Native American religion for some reason seems to follow along in what they say is paganism, but whatever. We all worshiped to the sky, right? So anyway, so my daughter's like going around on the internet, like telling people like I never abused her. We had a neighbor situation where a neighbor, I helped one of my neighbors get out of an abusive situation, and her husband had put a hit out on me, and he was going to have both of my daughters. They were little at this point. He was going to have the hitman, his brother, rape and kill my daughters in front of me and then kill me. So I did the best thing that I could to keep them safe and get them the hell out of that town. Podunk, piece of shit town. I sent them to their grandparents until I could get to a safer place. And then my unit that I was a recruit with, they had to deploy. And then that's how I ended up on the East Coast. So from west to east, I'm going to have to clip my toenail. have weird toes. But anyway, my then father-in-law, like, I trusted him so much with my children because I told him I'd never keep my babies away from him, and I expected the same. And he said, yes, of course I'll never keep them away from you. I'll always make sure that you get to see them. Well, that didn't happen. That, my friends, was a lie from a church elder. He and I would hash it out every once in a while over it. So, I provided clothing. I provided school supplies. Every once in a while, like, my kids would call me up and say, hey, Grandma and Papa haven't fed us today, and we're hungry. They haven't fed us dinner. And I'm like, well, where are they? They're like, well, they're not here. So they're leaving, like, my 13-year-old and my 14-year-old, even though the boys were old enough to take care of the girls, you know, siblings, you know, they don't necessarily get along, so they would leave them alone to go maybe to the store or something. Don't know. Just no. So I would call a pizza place, you know, pay over the phone, and then have it delivered, right? And so it's like my in-laws would come back and they'd find the kids eating. They'd be like, where did you get that pizza? And one of them would still be on the phone with me. And they were trying to chew me out. And I'm going to tell you what, I chewed them one. I'm like, how dare you? How dare you just leave them there? Well, their dad's here. I'm like, is he awake? No. Did you check his breath to see if he's been drinking? Oh, he hasn't been sneaking beer into our house. Like, have you checked his breath? Well, his dad was like, you know, he went to go check on him, and he's like, you know, sure enough, beer breath was rolling. And considering that they left them home alone with a passed out drunk father that was never around for their birthdays when we were together, he would just take off, or he just didn't want to be around. He was cheating on me at that point, and but now, like, my oldest girl wants to go around and say that I never did anything for them and that I try to buy their love. Now, this is where we get into the brainwashing. Why would you brainwash somebody else's kid to the point where when I was supplying them with things that they needed, and my youngest daughter, she wanted a Wii game system for her birthday one year, when they first came out, and they also had a red one. And I'm like, you have to have AB average grades and earn it for your birthday. She's like, I have to earn it? And I'm like, yes, honey, you have to earn it. Now, there's nothing wrong with making your kids earn what they get. That's just me. That's how I raise my kids. You have to earn it, or there's no gimme, because I wasn't raising my kids like that. And one day, my oldest daughter saw some little bratty kid pitching a fit in the grocery store, so she threw herself on the floor and started to fake scream and pitch a fit. I picked her ass up off the floor and once and said, I don't give a shit if you saw that little brat in that shopping cart getting away with a fit. I'm like, You are not that kid, and I am not their mother, and you sure as hell will not behave in that manner, young lady. Get your ass back to the shopping cart now. And one of the store employees came along, one of the managers, she had seen me and chewing her out too, and I'm like, is there going to be a problem? She's like, absolutely not. She's like, thank goodness. A parent that will discipline a child. Now, think about it. Back in the day, we got spankings and didn't hurt us. Shit. I didn't get spankings, and I'll tell you what. I don't know if you can see that scar, but that scar right there in my earlobe was from beatings. When I was a kid, people would lock me in closets for hours at a time, throw spiders in there at me. You know, those toy rubber snakes, they would throw those in there at me. And you remember when the Barbie makeup head came out? They hung that in there with the nightgown on it to scare me. And I would be locked in there until their parent would get home. And then they would let me out the minute that they saw her pulling in the driveway. Now, mind you, I was only a little girl when I was tortured like that. Does that give me issues? Of course. But I'm not going to let it stop me. But when people don't know me from Adam and Eve, and that's not a sponsor, but I hear Rich Lux. Rich Lux, go to Rich Lux. If you want any of that stuff from Adam and Eve, just use code LUX for 50% off. They're rich, you just got a promotion. But no, the people in the towns, like, they weren't. Jen from Jen's Hangouts can tell you about that section of Oregon. And she can tell you people in the area, snobby in the house, rude, thieves, just if there's a crime to commit, they've done it. Even people that I attended school with, most of them are in jail. Karma, you know, karma. Most of them are in jail now. It's just turned into such a bad thing. So, but when my child lies about me, right, because somebody has brainwashed you, and you were just a kid, you were a baby. You were born a girl. You identify as a girl. Your brain has become mixed up. But in the 90s, you were just a baby. And how small of a baby? She was 2 months premature. She had yellow jaundice. I put her in the sunlight to clear up the jaundice. I laid her on my bed at a distance so I wouldn't roll on her. And my then husband, I wouldn't allow him to sleep on the bed. I'd let him, you're gonna squish the baby and it's gonna hurt you. And so, no, they didn't go without food. I would fill the house full of food. I see I'm almost like 20 minutes in. And I would fill it with all sorts of stuff. Beef, chicken, pork, seafood. I would take 1.5 cards. Now this is back when Walmart used to have super low prices for their super Walmarts. I would take 1.5 cards, fill it up right, well, 2 cards and fill it up 1.5, you know, and only spend $88 for a month's worth of groceries. A month's worth of groceries for $88, and that was for 6 people. Like milk, eggs, cheese, breads, all the meat, you know, everything you need. Fill your cupboards, fill your freezer, you know, chicken and all that. And Mike isn't go without. In fact, what I used to do was I had like fun nights for the weekends, as long as they did their homework. You know, they could do certain things, but the minute they came in the door, they had to do their homework. They could grab a snack, which basically my kids would grab a bottled water, a yogurt, and a string cheese, and go have that while they're doing their homework. And I would turn on music. Now I'm like, you can't go play with your friends, and you can't watch TV or play video games until you're done with your homework. That was just my rules. And, you know, as a parent, to me, that's not a bad thing to do, because you're making sure your kids are staying out of trouble. You're making sure that your kids are getting properly educated, because I started at home. Learning begins at home. So since they stayed with my in-laws, now remember that learning begins at home. And I was trying to, you know, like get back on my feet and get my babies back, you know, but my ex-mother-in-law did me dirty. Karma happened to her too. She would tell people in her church that I died from cancer. And I know it's sad to say, but that's what she died from. She was diagnosed like a year after she started lying about me. I'm telling you, karma's a real thing, people. Be careful what you do to other people, because karma will get back and snap you in the ass. Be careful talking shit about people you don't really know. Be careful lying. God don't like ugly, but he don't necessarily like people who think they're better than the rest either. Or the God doesn't like that. But, you know, too many people have believed my daughter's BS. And it's funny because they never asked me. They never asked me, hey, is this the truth? No, it's not the truth. I had gotten a phone call one night. This is when she was younger. And they were living with their grandpa. Their papa was still alive. Their grandmother was already deceased, but their papa was still alive. And like I said, you know, he and I got along to a point. But my youngest son called me, and he's like, hey, there's this girl here. She's been here for a couple of weeks. Kendra met her online, you know, so they said they were friends, and she's refusing to leave, and she's trying to get her to go with her. I think I just accidentally said my daughter's name, but anyway, you know, I was like, well, what is she trying to get her to do? She's like, she's trying to get her to go to Vegas, and I'm and I'm like, what's your papa doing? So he's like, he's trying to get that girl to leave the house. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, you go over to your papa, pull him aside, and say, if she doesn't get out, call the cops. Call the cops. And she was trying to get my daughter to go with her. Well, what happened was she was trying to snatch and grab my daughter for human trafficking in Vegas. And I had a team on standby because my friend's nonprofit organization for combating human trafficking, I had the team for grabbing them back on standby. And I even told my youngest boy that. I'm like, you know, I got the team on standby. So if this girl tries to get her to go, we can just like, boom, they're gonna sweep in and get her. So I had got my ex-father-in-law on the line. I talked to him for a minute, and he's like, yes, this does make sense. And it made a lot of sense. So this video might be a little longer than usual. So he's like, yeah, I was still on the phone with my son. He's like, young lady, if you don't get out of my house, you've been so very rude to me. You've been trying to tell me what to do in my own house. He's like, get out or I am calling the police. She's like, oh, old man, you ain't calling the police on me. He's like, 911. 911 operator, how may I help you? And the girl was like, I'm leaving. Let me get my things. I'm leaving. And my daughter was like, well, hold on a minute. And he's like, young lady, you aren't going nowhere. And I'm like, thank you. Because you see, I made sure that my daughters were not murdered. I made sure that all of my children were fed, clothed, educated. Okay? All of them. All 4 of them. So for people to go out of their way to talk down about me, like, I feel pity for you. I really have pity on you. I pity your soul. Because where's your soul going to go? All of you out there claiming to be so Christian, then you talk such a way about people. Have you thought about everything you've done in this life like that? Have you thought about what happens when you're dead? Where's your soul gonna go? I know a lot of people are like, oh, that'll, in the afterlife, this is where I'm gonna be. But when you talk down, you talk crap about people, where is your soul going to go? Have you thought about that? Like, I don't have a shit ton of numbers on my channel and I don't really care, right? I just do YouTube because I feel like it. I'm not here to make $1. I don't have sponsors. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. I come in here to have fun, have a little chat, sew, makeup, unboxings, just stuff like that. And then when people, they want to take bits and clips of my videos, even though my channel is watermarked, did you know that your icon in the right-hand corner of your screen, right? That little icon in the right-hand corner of your screen is a watermark. So when people bit and clip your stuff, this is why I say I take pity on them. When they bit and clip your stuff and mix up your words for something you didn't say, like, I feel sorry for them because, I really take pity on them because, like, sure, you can edit. That's nice, but why don't you take your editing skills and do something decent with it? maybe you can get a job as a film editor or something. Like, take that where it's useful. You know what I mean? Take it where it's useful. Because that would probably be better for you. You would probably be a lot happier than having a dirty soul. Doing people dirty that you don't even know. Oh, I gotta remember, I can't try to, like, my eyebrows are frozen in place. I'm not mad at that. Just can't really. All right, this eyebrow's frozen in place. This one still moves. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Just remember something. When you hear a rumor, why is a person even passing a rumor around? Do they know you? Do they know your life story? They probably don't. And then there's a lot of people out there that try to copy other people's lives, right? And that's pathetic. That's pathetic. So anyway, I need to go to bed. I have some more sewing to do tomorrow. Little more bits and pieces on the video. I'm not going to show you what I got on the table. And everybody stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive, and as always, stay blessed. Stop making words a mess. Sounding like Biden. He can't fucking make a sentence or even remember where he is. Oh, did anybody see him trying to shake the hand of nobody? There was nobody there. He turned around and went like, there was just, there's a lot of like, wow. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. And remember, don't lie and claim to be Christian, because lying is not very Christian. Thou shalt not bear false witness, because that is cardinal sin. Thank you.